So the teaser for my talk title today was, we seem to be more comfortable talking about our sex lives than money. What's up with that? And the truth is, we are. I mean, how many conversations have you had with your close friends, and sometimes uncomfortably with your unclose friends, about what happens in our sex lives versus how often have you freely talked about your bank account and what's in it and how much you have and how grateful you are for it and how it got there and what you're doing to manifest more if you want more. Hardly never. Unless, if you've ever taken financial freedom, excuse me, if you've ever taken the certificated class Financial Freedom, it is probably the most uncomfortable class environment that you will ever be in. We squirm, and when there are questions asked, it's almost comical to see how quickly everybody looks at each other, waiting for someone else to answer. Because we don't want to talk about money. Why not? Okay. So Ernest Holmes defines money in our Science of Mind glossary. The symbol of God's substance, the idea of God's supply objectified. Now follow this logic, and it all starts becoming clear. As God is spirit, and humanity is God's creation, spirit is humanity's substance. But spirit is all. So money must be an expression of the substance of spirit. See, if we are that informed, and we created this system called money, we are creating as the divine, from the divine, so money must be the divine too. However, we are raised in a society that indoctrinates us with so many messages about money and what it means when we have it, and more importantly, what it means when we don't. People who choose to live a very lean expression of life, many of us see them as lazy, incompetent, uninterested in evolving. We have all sorts of really nice labels to throw on one another. Do we know that any of it's true? Not without having a conversation with them. Not without daring to sit down and say, you know, when I look at your lifestyle, I have a whole lot of judgments. Can I share them with you and check them out and see if they're true? To give you permission to do that, starting in the mirror. Because if we're unwilling to have that conversation with ourselves, it's really not fair to subject someone else to it. And it's probably a good idea to recognize that if I invite you into that conversation, it's entirely likely that you will flip it on me and ask me the very same question. So it's a good idea that I have an answer before I start. Truth be told, if we would take the time to have these conversations with ourselves in the mirror, what we'll realize is that I don't need to have them with you. Because I am you. And you are me. And the conversation I'm having with me is the same conversation you're having with you. Why do we have such a struggle with money? For one, we have all of these messages about what it is. And we see it as something completely outside of ourselves. Okay? Our socialization, look at what's happening, has been happening for several years now. this whole divide of the 1% and the 99%. As if money is limited, as if there is some reserve of money that is eventually going to run out. And the 1% know where it is. They know where it's all hidden. And in the stealth of night, they go in and take their share and leave a little bit for us to all fight over. Really? How can that be? And if we really believe what we teach, that we live in an abundant universe, that our supply is creation itself and it's unlimited, why do we care what the 1% has, and why do we put ourselves in the 99%? The ugly truth is, it's victim consciousness. We have bought the socialization lock, stock, and barrel, that there is a limited amount, that only the smart people get it, and when that doesn't hold true, only the mean people get it. Only the people that are willing to step on other people get it. And the truth of the matter is, that is a projection of our own inadequacy. That is a projection of our own consciousness, because we have been unwilling, whether it's intentional or not, doesn't matter. We've been unwilling to look at the beliefs that we hold around money. And so we do really neat spiritual bypasses. Well, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. Maybe it's just me that says that. Ernest Holmes has this little booklet titled, "It's Up to You." So if you're confused about that, I recommend that book. It'll take you a couple of hours to read. I mean, it's not big. And it's not big for a reason. This isn't complicated. Okay? However, it's not easy. There is a world of difference. There is a long and windy road between simple and easy. Okay? It's really simple. Thanksgiving Day, it was very simple for me to cook a 19-pound turkey. Very simple. Not so easy for Deborah and I to take care of that whole turkey. That's a lot of turkey for 2 human beings. I don't know what I was thinking. Other than I'm raised in the South and we are taught to cook for large numbers of people because they just show up. Okay? Here in California, yins ain't like that. Okay? But it's the truth. You don't ever cook a small meal in the South because you don't know who's showing up. Because we have this phrase in the South, when you're fixing to leave and go somewhere, if you're with other people, it just comes at, y'all come with me. Now, here's the thing. They do, but not necessarily right then. The way we hear things in the South is, oh, that's an open invitation. So I can just show up at your house whenever I want to. And we do. And we feed each other. And so that's in my conditioning. And so there is this large bird sitting in our refrigerator with about 3 containers of mashed potatoes still left over, 2 jars of leftover jelly. I'm doing a quick inventory. A whole pan of stuffing, and stuffing still in the bird. That's how belief systems work. If you want to see what you believe, look at your life. Okay? That's the good news and the bad news. Okay? The good news, it's really simple to know what we believe. We manifest it every day. A month ago, there were no children coming. We set an intention to have children. We had somebody step out on faith and say, I will do it, and we will have it, so that it's here when they come. And we had 3, and then we had 5, and I believe we're up to 7 today. That's how changing our consciousness works. She wasn't waiting to see children to start a children's ministry. That's reasoning from effect to effect. That whole I'll believe it when I see it, that puts us depending on effect. We have to look at the cause underneath that, which is our belief. When we talk about cause, we're talking about our belief. When we talk about speaking our word, we're talking about our belief. I can put whatever blanket I want over my belief. It does not change my belief. Okay? What we're actually creating from, there's a Wallace, I think it's a Raymond Charles Barker quote. Let me find it here. Where did I put that? I'll find it while I'm talking. Bottom line is, what we're creating from is the belief that is operating at that automatic level. Going back to what we read, what Gail read this morning, nothing happens by chance in the universe. Everything is in accord with law. Faith is a law and acts as such. Now get this, folks. The law of faith is a law of belief. And here's the linchpin. And for those of you who don't know what a linchpin is, it's the thing that holds everything together. A belief so complete that the mind no longer rejects it. That's what's operating in your life. Those beliefs that we hold that are so deep, so entrenched, so automatic that we never question them. We've talked about this before, this state of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a beautiful thing. It's horribly uncomfortable. And it's a beautiful thing. Because it signals us that we have gotten to one of those deeply held beliefs that we have had since we had belief. Because cognitive dissonance happens when those beliefs that are so automatic, so ingrained, so entrenched, that they literally feel like the fabric of our being. And so we feel like something's wrong with us to question it. This teaching is all about questioning all of those. All of those. We touched on this a little bit last week. We will not grow if we stay comfortable. Okay. Nature. I love looking to nature. If you've ever watched what happens with a seed, that's work. This little seed gets buried 6 to 8 inches in the dark. Okay. It literally lays there and rots in order to become something new. Transformation of a butterfly. We like looking at the butterfly. We don't like talking about the caterpillar. The caterpillar wraps itself up and literally dissolves. Must become completely dissolved for the butterfly to happen. So here's this little seed in all this darkness, and it rots and it breaks open. And then this time, the thing that pops up over the soil is called a cotyledon. Okay? Those are tender. They're very soft. They're very malleable. They're very fragile. That fragility, that tenderness, pushed its way up through 6 to 8 inches of soil to get to the light. Now, when I think about that and really let that sink in, that's amazing to me. That this thing that I can just pinch off has such strength and such commitment to being what it is, that it goes through the work of pushing up through the soil to get to the light. See, everything is about getting to the light. The caterpillar encloses itself in darkness. And in order to get to the light, it has to break through that cocoon. Baby birds are in eggs. They're in darkness. They have to work at getting out of that shell to get to the light. And somehow, being the intelligent species that we are, and I say that very tongue-in-cheek, we somehow have exempted ourselves from that chore of coming through the darkness, of doing the work of growth to get to the light. We just want to take a pass on all of that. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard people say, well, spirituality is not supposed to be hard. Spirituality is not hard. Being human is hard. There's a difference. My humanity is the soil. My spirit just naturally pushes itself up through that to the light. The difference between us and the chicken and the caterpillar and the seed is none of them are busy. You know, the chick, as it's breaking out, doesn't go, "Whoop, broke the shell, let me fix that." The plant, when it's coming up through the soil, doesn't go, "Oop, disturb the soil, let me put all that back." But we do. The minute we feel discomfort, pack that down. Not looking at that. Not gonna look at that. That makes me feel uncomfortable. It must be something I need to not look at. Yeah, it's true. Or maybe it's just me. I'm willing to entertain that. What will it take for you to be willing to become a caterpillar? What will it take for you to be the seed? What will it take for you to be the chick? And if chick doesn't work, lizards have the same process. What will it take for you to take responsibility for breaking out of your own shell? I'll tell you what it'll take. And you may not want to hear this. I certainly didn't want to hear it when I heard it internally. He said, everything I believe to be true about me has to be dissolved. my human identity has to be dissolved. See, the caterpillar can't just dissolve. I like the first 3 segments of my caterpillarness, but the last 7 I'm good with, so I'll let the last 7 go. The caterpillar never becomes a butterfly, if that happens. And so I can play with transformation. I can play around transformation. I can sit and want transformation. But if I'm unwilling to transform, then what happens is I start looking for people to blame for my failure. And I look to the 1% about money. And we make up all kinds of stories about the 1%. They're greedy. They're evil. Money's evil. People that have money are evil. They could do so much more with their money if they chose to. What would you do with your money if you chose to? Because see, everything that I can say about them is true about me. We go to the Bible and there's the story of the widow and the 2 mites. She gave everything she had. Am I willing to give everything I have? And that doesn't necessarily mean I give away every dime I have. But am I willing to give away everything I think I am? Am I willing to be so surrendered to the truth of my being without question? I'm going to read that again because repetition is helpful. Am I willing to have such a belief so complete that my mind no longer rejects it? Am I willing to believe our teachings that whatever created all of this is the truth of me? And only know that. Am I willing, see, I laugh at us as human beings. We like talking about the mystery while we're figuring out what we're going to do. We make lots of plans for how the mystery is going to unfold. Really? How does that work? If I'm in charge of everything, if I have this incredibly detailed plan, where is the mystery? I ain't judging, I'm just saying. I might be judging a little bit. What I can tell you from personal experience is when we surrender to that calling on the inside, even if it scares the jabbers out of us, amazing things happen. Okay. Many of you know the story about me in ministerial school. I had no idea how I was going to get paid for. Absolutely none. We were worse than paycheck to paycheck. We were, I wonder how the rent's getting paid this month. And everything inside of me kept saying, go now. You need to be done by 2017. And I would sit with the bank account open in front of me and sob. Because all I wanted to know was, how do I surrender? I didn't care how it was going to happen. I wanted to know how to let go of believing what was on that piece of paper. Because that's what was holding me back. And the more I did that, the more I felt called to ministerial school. And then somebody that I had literally spent 20 minutes with, let's see, 7 years prior to that, found me on Facebook and sent me a private message and asked for my address. Sure. I'll give anybody my address. It's right there on my Facebook page. You don't even have to ask, really. It's right there. A week later, a check came in the mail for $1,000 with a note that said, "This is seed money from ministerial school. God has plans for you." Okay. I took that $1,000 and I put it in a separate account. And I went right back to being afraid because $1,000 wasn't even enough. $1,000 was enough for the application process. Ministerial school ain't cheap, people. Between the fees and the background check and the student fees, $1,000 covered getting into ministerial school. And so I spent another year begging, pleading for understanding, until it dawned on me, who are you asking? It's like all of a sudden, God is somewhere else. I'm begging for answers from the old white guy in the sky who occasionally goes off his meds. That's who I was praying to all of a sudden. The one that had the scorebook. And see, I was so not worthy. I didn't even share a scorebook with you people. I had my own scorebook because I was special bad. And there was no way it was ever going to happen because that God gave up on me a long time ago. And the truth of the matter is, I gave up on me a long time ago. I quit believing in me. And when I got clear about that, money showed up. I remember writing down a gratitude thing that for a year down the road, that I am exceedingly grateful that I had finished my first year of ministerial school debt-free. And that was mailed back to me a year later. And I completely forgot that I had done that. And I opened it as the first year of my ministerial school was ending. And I didn't owe a dime. Guess what I said for the next year? That worked, we'll do that again. But it only worked because expressing that drew it up in me. Everything that was in me that was against that belief came up in my consciousness. It's not enough to say, I claim this, and then not do the work to deal with the cognitive dissonance that comes up when we claim the truth. Because everything unlike the truth has to go. And it can't go if I don't know what it is. I defy any of you to go home and clean out your refrigerator without opening the door. I defy you to clean anything out of there without knowing what you're doing. But somehow we want a pass when it comes to our spirituality. We want to wave a magic wand and it all just happens. I'm going to close with this. We had dinner with some friends last night up in Santa Rosa. And they used to go to the Science of Mind Church up there. And Jackie put it so succinctly and so beautifully. What I find is that Science of Mind is either people who are really seeking the truth, or they are people that really want a quick fix, and not a whole lot in between. Now, I find that to be uncomfortably true. There are those of us myself included, that fall into, I just want a quick fix. I want to speak my word, it's all done. The problem is, it's not the words coming out of my mouth, it's the words in my belief system that I'm creating from. And so I invite you, listen deeply to the calling of your soul. Embrace it and begin to trust with absolute, unshakable certainty. Absolute, unshakable certainty that you have everything within you to make that happen, and everything in the way will bubble up for you to resolve. Let's take this into prayer. Divine light, infinite oneness, the all in all. That love that is everywhere present. That peace that is everywhere present. That abundance that is everywhere present. That energy of divinity that we call money, everywhere present. Whole, perfect, and complete, nothing missing. Creating out of itself, into itself, and therefore we are it in form. It can be no other way. The love that it is, we each are. The abundance of creation itself is the very truth of our being. And so we welcome an awareness of every belief that stands in the way of our embrace of the good that is us. Not the good that's coming to us, because it's already in us. It's not stored somewhere else. I don't have to go get it. I simply have to allow it to be. And so I speak my word, claiming and affirming that we collectively, as individuals, allow it to be. That we allow ourselves to wrestle with the discomfort of our human journey to be the caterpillar. Knowing that as we dissolve, we release the butterfly that we are. That we embrace the darkness, knowing that as we move through it, we're moving to the light. So grateful for this time. So grateful for this community, for this world, for the time that we live in that is showing us what we believe and that we can transform it. Grateful, grateful, grateful. And so it is in this gratitude that I release my word, which is the word of the divine spoken through me as me. And because that is what is speaking into the law that always says yes. It's already done. And so I release it. I let it go. And I let it be by getting out of the way. And I invite you to join me in anchoring this together as we say. And so it is.